A Star Wars RTS reportedly in development. This is by Michael Leary. Respawn Entertainment and Bit Reactor are working together to develop a strategy game set in the Star Wars universe. However, it seems as though that isn't the only Star Wars RTS in development. Video Game Chronicle editor Andy Robinson revealed on as much on Twitter. I'll read you the tweets saying he was replying to somebody who had asked, "Do you know what? I had completely forgotten that one was in production. Bit Reactor and Respawn, right? The one I was thinking of hasn't been announced." Wink. That was from Andy Robinson. But Games Chronicle editor Andy Robinson revealed as much on Twitter. He noted that players should not have to wait long to find out about a Star Wars RTS from a big studio. When asked if it was the aforementioned Respawn and Bit Reactor game, he simply stated that the one he was thinking of hadn't been announced. And since it hasn't been announced, it's unclear what team is behind it, when it would come out, what platforms it would be on, or if it even exists. It was reported that Disney wants a Star Wars game out every 6 months. So if true, Disney would need a stable of all sorts of titles. Possibly even 2 strategy games to hit that target. There have been other Star Wars RTS games in the past, like Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds Saga and Star Wars Empire at War. Firaxis Games is one of the biggest modern strategy game studios, which would fit Robinson's description. But that team is currently making a new civilization. Creative Assembly is another strategy-focused team, and it is currently working on Hyenas, which is ironically a first-person shooter. So one of the things we've always talked about with Star Wars games is, you particularly, Tavin, is there's a wide breadth of stuff you could do with the Star Wars brand. You do horror, you could do RTS, which is something that you had brought up before. Obviously, we get a lot of action adventure games and multiplayer games, usually how Star Wars shows itself to try and get that big player base. But on RTS games, they're getting somewhere now. They're going in the right direction.
We're getting it seems a strategy game and an RTS game of some kind. That excites me. Very much so. You know, we covered the Respawn deal when they announced the other games under Respawn. I forget, was Jedi Survivor one of those? I don't remember.
I want to say it was.
I want to say it was as well, but I could be mistaken there. So obviously we've seen that one. We've got a first person shooter coming from Respawn, which I am excited about because I would like a video game where I play as someone who isn't holding a lightsaber. In the Star Wars universe. That would be kind of neat because it's been a very long time since we've gotten one of those.
Did you play Republic Commando?
The opening hour or two. I liked it. It was one of those that I was like, I had downtime, so I checked it out, and it's been installed on my PlayStation ever since because it's a small game data-wise, so it doesn't take up much space on my hard drive, and I keep going, I really want to play that. I really need to get back to that every time I see it on my dashboard. So, I mean, I'm wanting to play that again. And then obviously the one with Bit Reactor, which we know very little about. But I think strategy and RTS games, like, that just kind of makes sense with Star Wars. It's big galactic wars, big factions, big teams, big landscape battles that like just kind of just makes sense in the Star Wars universe, you know? And you know, as you said, I've been on this podcast many times saying, yo, where's the diversity in Star Wars video games? Star Wars and video games are bread and butter. Those two go together so well. And back in the early 2000s and in the 90s, we had a plethora of Star Wars games that like spanned almost every single genre you can think of. There were platformers, there were first-person shooters, there were third-person shooters, there were action-adventure games, there were puzzle games, there were RTS games, flight sim games, and now it's really just first-person shooters, multiplayer games, and action-adventure games. And it's as much as I appreciate that, you know, we're about to go review Jedi Survivor here in a few minutes, but and so you can get my thoughts on the new one. And as much as I'm enjoying that, I like the games that have come out. We could use some more stuff, man. Star Wars is big enough and wide enough of a galaxy to where we can use more. So this excites me. This I'm very, very excited to see more about. I don't know what they're going to give us, but whatever they do end up giving us, I'm hoping for a really good time with that. Oh, you're muted, my friend.
Apologies. The caveat to this is it's a Star Wars game, and Star Wars is just notoriously enjoyed by people that have bad opinions on things. So
You
unfortunately,
hater. You're
the
such a
people who
hater.
make the games might be in the same position. So we should always take these things with a grain of salt because it is Star Wars, and if you like it, you're a nerd. Yes,
Bite me.
agrees.
You know, just fucking bite me. You pretentious little fucking dweeb. You know what I mean? Oh, Star Wars is
I don't have glasses.
mainstream. I don't like it because everybody else likes it. Where's my Lord of the Rings video games? There hasn't been a good Lord of the Rings video game since 2014, Connor. 2014, there hasn't been a good Lord of the Rings video game. And what was the one before then? 2007? Who gives a shit about Lord of the Rings? The franchise sucks. It's boring. Nobody cares. How's that fucking Gollum game treating you, Connor? You gonna go play Gollum?
And the successor movies, that's for damn sure. You know,
the successful movies. The successful movies, Connor. You had three good ones. Congratulations.
3 masterpiece ones versus dredged bullshit. Except for those first 3
it's a
ones,
masterpiece.
which-
Except you
yeah,
only have to watch the 5-hour version of them because the 3-hour version doesn't give you all the great lore. You don't get to know about the wondrous kings of the dwarves who lived in a mountain.
First of all, that's in the Silmarillion. You have to go read the books for any of that kind of stuff. Second of all, nowadays when you hear movies about the Irishman coming out, I can't think of any other long ones. People always complain.
Bad movie. Like, stop wasting our time. Your movies aren't that interesting.
What are you talking about? The Irishman was critically acclaimed and liked by everyone who saw it. People always complain about the hours, though. You know who they never complained about? The hours of Lord of the Rings. People say it's long.
No, people
complain.
And Connor, I'm going to say this right now, as someone who saw Avengers Endgame 4 times in movie theaters. If you don't have a fucking Spider-Man or a lightsaber, I don't want to fucking hear from you.
You know what? There's no winning against stupidity. There's only... You can fight against it, you can argue against it, and you can make some great points against it. But ultimately, Lord of the Rings will always be better than Star Wars. And anyone who says other words is the aforementioned idiot in this situation. Not me, of course.
Star Wars got a better hit rate. I'm just saying that right now.
Maybe that's actually true, but that's because there's so much stuff because they want to just pump it with money because it's a bloated corpse. That's not true. It's a bloated.
I'll even go movies, just movies. Cut it down to just movies. Star Wars still has a better hit rate.
No. Now you're screwing yourself.
Not by much. Not by much. Not by much.
I do not count the Hobbit movie since that is not Lord of the Rings. That is.
Oh,
Hobbit.
shut up! That's Lord of the Rings.
It's not the same thing. No, it's not. It's not even content in the original books. So there you go.
Listen, Lord of the Rings got a 50% hit rate. Star Wars,
it has 100%
55 to 60.
100%. Okay, you know what? It's 100% hit rate unless you're counting the TV show, which I do not. Because once again, that doesn't even cover.
Oh, I forgot about that TV show. Yeah, that TV show was ass, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm sitting over here.
What are you gonna do?
I'm sitting over here rewatching Clone Wars for the 6th time, having a great time.
Wow.
Great stories.
Go watch like Arcane or Cyberpunk 2077. Be the games journalist you need to be and watch the modern adaptations, Tavin. Please watch those. They're very good.
Anyways, Connor, let's go ahead and put that into bed.
Well,
man, we got off topic.
We never will put that to bed, Tavin. That'll be a continuing argument.
Oh my goodness gracious! If only you had better taste. But let's move along.